How's it going, everyone? Pop-Tart here. Welcome back to the Aeroteam channel. Today we're going to be having a look around our 1.5:1 scale Concorde. Now before I begin, I must apologize. Zap is doing something stupid with the server right now and it's lagging harder than a Hypixel skyblock, but I'll do my best. Chunks aren't loading, I am rubber banding like crazy, and I am this close to literally dying, but hey, at least it'll be better than Taxi 753 showcase with an FOV that looks like it was shot with an iPhone 11 macro lens. So as for the Concorde itself, it was jointly manufactured between British Aircraft Corporation and Aérospatiale. I am butchering that French pronunciation, please don't shoot me. Anyways, let's have a look around. So we've got the very pointy supersonic nose right here, landing lights in the side, another set of landing lights embedded in the fuselage itself here, and the nose gear is stupidly far back because this is a lawn boy and balance, I guess. We have an airfoil extension here on the underside, and the main landing gear here kind of offset between two plots, including a pretty interesting design for a 1.5 by 1.5 wheel here using vertical slabs. Anyways, that's it for the main gear here. Also got a gear strut and the gear doors here to cover up that gap in the wing. And underneath the wing here we have the engines. So Concorde used 4 Rolls-Royce Olympus 593 engines, I think they are, 2 underneath each wing. You can see the intake for these engines right up here at the front and the fans way back in there. But speaking of the wings, here we have the delta wings of the Concorde. Now, interestingly enough, the Concorde actually didn't have horizontal stabilizers, so vertical attitude was maintained using these elevons here at the trailing edge of the wing. I believe as well, to make up for the lack of horizontal stabilizers, Concorde used trim tanks as well in the forward and aft, so instead of trimming the stabilizers to maintain attitude, fuel would actually be shifted to the different tanks to shift the center of gravity. Back to the wings though here, the tips are painted in red, as you can see here. And we have an overwing exit right here onto the wing itself. And at the back here we have the rather uniquely shaped vertical stabilizer and the anti-tail skid wheel here on the underside. That's just about it for the exterior. One last thing is that because of the massive nose required for supersonic speeds, pilots actually couldn't see the ground from the flight deck. So this was countered with a mechanism known as the droop snoot, and as you can imagine, the snoot droops. So we have 4 different stages of the droop nose here. This is the standard configuration for cruise, with the visor up and the nose at its normal angle. This is with the visor collapsed down into the nose itself. This stage here is at a 5-degree incline for ground operations, and for takeoff, I believe. So this allowed a clear view of the taxiway and everything. And this is a 15-degree incline for landing, so that on the steep angle of attack needed for landing flares, the pilots could still maintain visual contact with the runway. And now you know about the droop snoot. That's about it for the exterior of the Concorde. So one last thing for the blank aircraft here. Like all of our 1.5:1 scale aircraft, we of course have a full interior design. So instead of breaking the door open like a normal person, I'm just gonna go straight on in here. There we go. Alright, so, I don't know where to start. Let's just start right here. So we've got the galleys up here at the front. Lavatory, I think this is. Either a lavatory or a closet. That's a lavatory. Okay, cool. And here we have the cabin seating of the Concorde. So, I don't know what all these stone buttons are for. I'm assuming they're representing the overhead air conditioning, but I don't know. I wasn't a part of this, so hey, it's a detail. It exists. It's cool. Here we have the overwing exits, and at the back here, more galleys and the rear doors. That's it for the back here though, so zooming all the way back to the front here, in the flight deck. Even in this scale, the flight deck is very cramped, but this is supposed to be like the flight engineer position off to the side here, and pilot, co-pilot seats, all that stuff. We don't have a lot of room. This is a tiny, tiny nose. But, yeah, that is everything for the interior. So that's it for our blank aircraft here. Now, as for liveries, I do believe that we have every livery the Concorde has ever flown in, apart from the old British Airways livery, because I'm lazy and couldn't be bothered to make that one. So, starting off here, we've got the Concorde house livery. Red stripe all the way down here, with blue stripe on the tail. It says Concorde, because it's a Concorde. Next up here is the current Air France livery. So we've got the red and blue stripes on the tail here, aircraft registration. It says Air France here on the side. And hey, we've also got the droop nose here, so you can see what that looks like in action. Next up here is the British Airways Landor livery. So it's got a red stripe all the way down the aircraft here. It says British Airways. Little red and black triangle design here, with a crown on the vertical stabilizer. Yes, that's what the gray is here for. It's a crown on the vertical stabilizer for British reasons. Next here is the Air France retro livery. Even in the 80s, retro liveries were a thing. So this livery was actually originally designed by Zap, and then he deleted it with World Edit and forgot to undo it because he is smart, and I had to redo the entire thing for him. So as for the livery itself, we've got this kind of blue angle-looking pattern here on the vertical stabilizer, another stripe running down the fuselage because that was way too common, Air France text on the side here, and a French flag on the side of the fuselage. Next here we've got the current British Airways livery that you all know and love. So on the vertical stabilizer here at the back, we've got the kind of wavy, shimmery flag design here. This took way too much time to perfect. That was very painful. Aircraft registration down here. Another shimmery flag up at the front because flags. And the text on the side here says, you guessed it, American Airlines. Up next here is probably one of the strangest airliner liveries to ever grace this poor planet. So in the 80s, when Pepsi was rebranding to blue, they teamed up with Air France to make this blue Pepsi livery because the executives thought, hey, you know what would be great? Billboard in the sky. And so they did, and they paid something like $5 million for it, and the aircraft was repainted back to its original Air France colors 2 weeks later. Big marketing strategies. So as for the livery itself here, we've got Pepsi painted in 5 different places on this aircraft. Both sides here, underneath the nose, and on top of both wings here. And the Pepsi logo in all of its shiny glory on the vertical stabilizer. So next up here, that's right, it's that one airline you had no idea operated Concorde. So this is Singapore Airlines, and surprisingly they actually had a Concorde in their fleet. So we've got the Singapore Airlines logo kind of thing on the vertical stabilizer here. Yet another stripe running down the aircraft, and the Singapore Airlines text here on the side. And the aircraft registration at the back here. And for our last livery, that's right, it's that one airline you didn't even know existed, let alone operated a Concorde. So this is Brent. They also had a Concorde in operation. They went defunct in 1982, and their livery is painfully orange. So we've got the orange vertical stabilizer here, with the BI text on the side here for Brent International, and unlike every other stereotypically Concorde livery with a stripe running down the fuselage, this one's even fancier because the stripe runs all the way down and wraps around the nose, so it's got that going for it. So that's every livery we have for the Concorde. As I mentioned earlier, I was going to make the original British Airways livery, but I couldn't be bothered, so that's just not a thing. And this is all that we have. But that's just about everything for our 1.5:1 scale Concorde. If you enjoyed, let us know what you'd like to see next. So, thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.